Alright, before we jump in, I just wanted to say thanks for all the support and a welcome to the newcomers to the community. We're small but growing strong and I really appreciate it. After our last video on better utilizing the minimap, one thing I kept seeing in the comments was these tips are helpful, but I'm still losing my one-on-one gunfights. So today I want to focus specifically on improving gunplay. Now again, I'm not some pro player dropping 100 kills every game. I'm just someone who enjoys Battlefield after work, likes playing smart, and wants to consistently win more fights and help the team. And a lot of improving your gun skill actually comes down to small decisions like your settings, your positioning, how you approach objectives, how you take engagements, and understanding when not to fight. So in this video, I'm going to walk through some settings I personally use, gameplay habits that help me improve, and some easy adjustments that can immediately make you more consistent in your gunfights. So with that, let's get into it. Before we even talk about positioning or mechanics, we should probably talk about settings, because honestly this might be the single biggest factor affecting your aim. One of the biggest mistakes I see players making is cranking their sensitivity way too high because they think it'll magically make them faster or better. But the reality is, even after you get used to a super high sensitivity, it can still hurt your consistency. Especially in Battlefield where you're constantly taking medium range gunfights and tracking moving targets. Personally, I think it's way more important to find a sensitivity that feels controlled and repeatable. So these are the settings I personally use right now. So the first setting I'd change is under gameplay and infantry, and obviously the first one here is sensitivity. So I have this set to 40. Again, this is something you need to tailor and tweak to your specific preferences. If you go too high, you'll often over aim and miss people, but if you go too low, you can't react quick enough. So this has been, 40's kind of been my sweet spot. I don't like to go too much higher than this. And then related to that, I also changed my vehicle aim sensitivity. I actually put this one a bit lower. I find that it's a bit more sensitive, especially when I'm aiming, and I actually want a bit slower response and easy control there. And then the other big one is your aim input curve. So this is under aim assist. I think Battlefield 1, Battlefield 4 has been the best, and I think watching some other people on YouTube as well, this seems to be the general consensus, and I would agree. And I do the same for the vehicle aim input curve. But beyond that, I think a lot of these are very much just preference oriented, but those are the very key settings that I would change and start to hone in. Now, I'm not saying these are the perfect settings for everyone, but hopefully it gives you a good starting point. What I actually recommend doing is spending some time in the firing range and actually experimenting. So slide around, snap between targets, aim around corners, practice tracking while moving. You'll pretty quickly start noticing whether your sensitivity feels too twitchy or too sluggish. And honestly, your infantry setting matters way more than trying to optimize vehicle settings or all of those other tiny extras. This is where you should really hone in on what feels good for you. Another good tip you can do is, while in the gun range, get your load up set to what you want, and then step a good distance way back and just unload the entire magazine into the wall. And what this allows you to do is then see kind of what happens as you go through the magazine, like your recoil essentially. So here you can see it's very much starting to trend upward. So I need to slightly pull down as I go through this magazine to better center my shots. And you'll see that based on the attachments you choose, you'll get different behaviors here. So figure out the gun that you like and do this little exercise, and you can very much see early on how you should start to trend and pull your right stick while aiming. Now, in terms of actually getting better visual gameplay, there's a few additional settings that I suggest altering. I suggest pushing field of view as high as you feel comfortable going. I have this actually maxed out. It just gives you a lot more data in your periphery. You can see more going on. I think you should also turn off weapon motion blur, world motion blur, reduce the camera shake amount, and reduce sprint while bobbing, chromatic aberration, the vignettes, the film grain. All of this is meant to kind of feel immersive, but in terms of actually seeing more and winning more gunfights, it's good to have a lot of these off. It'll just be a cleaner picture overall. But of course, settings alone won't win gunfights if you're taking bad engagements. So let's switch gears now. I won't go super deep into loadouts in this video because honestly that could be an entire guide by itself. But one of the biggest things is understanding the strengths of the weapon you're using. So if you're using an SMG or a fast-firing assault rifle, trying to beam somebody across the map usually gives away your position without accomplishing much. Instead, reposition, close the distance, or refocus on targets that are fitting your weapon better. And if you prefer mid-range or long-range fights, then prioritize weapons with higher bullet velocity and attachments that improve recoil control and precision. And this ties directly back to the minimap. So of course the minimap gives you these early warning signs before fights even happen, and you can often predict pushes, enemy flanks, or contested areas before you ever see someone on your screen. I'll link the full minimap guide in the description because honestly combining the awareness with solid gunplay is what really starts improving consistency. Next, I want to talk about centering and positioning. So one of the easiest habits to improve immediately is centering your crosshair while you're aiming. Try to keep your aim where you expect enemies to appear, and that can give you that slight second advantage that can help you win those immediate gunfights. And the second is how you actually approach the objectives. So avoid sprinting straight into the middle of the objectives. If a point's contested, which you can see by hovering your cursor over the specific objective marker, slow down, enter from cover, check common angles, and gather information first. I find it helpful to kind of creep through the edge and just barely get across that corner into the barrier, and then you can kind of gauge where people are from there. One of the largest contributions to my improved gunplay has actually been playing slower. So this also connects to something a lot of players struggle with, which is just playing too fast. Battlefield doesn't always reward non-stop sprinting. So instead, one way you can do this is actually holding angles. And sometimes the best thing you can do is simply hold a line and let enemies push into you, especially if you already know the direction they're coming from. This is extremely effective in game modes like Breakthrough, where it's very unidirectional, or even Escalation when you get to the end of the round and the map starts to condense. The other factor is mounting, and mounting your weapon can actually be really effective here too. It reduces your recoil, reduces your exposure, and helps you lock down these choke points. And the last component is playing the objective. So I always talk about how practice and get to know the maps really helps improve your gameplay, but that also comes with just playing the objective. Honestly, 95% of the meaningful action in Battlefield happens around objectives and choke points, and that's where you'll encounter the most enemies, the most pressure, and the most opportunities to improve. So if you really want to get better at gunfights, put yourself into those situations consistently, approach those fights with good awareness, good positioning, and patience, and over time your gun skills will naturally improve. Hopefully some of these tips help you win a few more fights and feel more confident in game. And if you found anything else that helped your gunplay, definitely leave it in the comments. I know a lot of people read through them and have found them useful recently. And overall, that's going to do it for this one. Leave a comment down below if you found this format of video useful, or if you have any other tips like I mentioned that help you improve along the way. As always, thanks for watching. If you enjoyed the video, consider leaving a like and subscribe if you want to see more. Be sure to spread some positivity, and I'll see you in the next one.